And welcome everybody to another 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. And joining us today, of all weeks, 4th of July week, Assistant Fire Chief Bryan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in here today.
Thanks for having me back.
It's obviously this is a little bit different than in previous years because we actually don't have any COVID restrictions.
Sure,
we don't have any like car limits or any of that fun stuff. And I know you're deep into preparation, so we're all excited about it. I wasn't aware of the work that went into getting the fireworks set up until last year. So why don't you let everybody know about exactly what it is that you guys have to go through to make sure that everybody has a safe and happy 4th of July celebration?
Sure. Okay. So from the prevention standpoint, we have a prevention officer that obviously handles the inspections of the site, the inspections of the fireworks. He has to go through continuing education out at the state, at the fire academy, to make sure he's up to date on all the fireworks laws. But from the time the fireworks companies arrive, they'll build the racks for the fireworks first, and he'll be on site to inspect the racks. And then once they start loading the fireworks, he'll be there for the entire duration. And usually they start in the daytime. So this is, most days it's a long day for him. It's going to be maybe even upwards of 16 hours from the time they arrive, start loading the product, to the time they shoot them off. And then after they shoot them off, he goes through and inspects the park again to make sure that there's no unexploded fireworks out there in the fields or anything like that. And then again, he'll check the next morning, again in the daylight hours, that he'll recheck the site and everything like that. So that's from his standpoint, it's a pretty long day, pretty long week, getting in touch with the fireworks companies and coordinating all that from their standpoint. So, but the day of the event, in addition to him, the fire department will have an engine and a medic over there for the duration of the fireworks events, from the time that the folks start arriving, to kind of get out there and see the public, let the kids come up and see the trucks and the medics. This year we'll also have two paramedics on bicycles that'll be attached to the police bike units and everything like that. So they'll be out through the crowd, so folks might see them out in the crowd and mingling out there. So it's a long day. It's a lot of preparation, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't really know about. But yeah.
So who do I have to talk to for me to push the button to let these things off? Because I keep getting told I'm not allowed to do that. I mean, this is a mayor privilege thing. I think I should.
Maybe some entitlement. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you might have some pull. You may talk to Lieutenant Schmidt. I'll talk to you about that and everything.
I'm telling you, just honestly, who wouldn't want to start that thing off and just push the button?
There are quite a few buttons. I've seen the board. I've been back there before.
Yeah.
And then just a side note, once the fireworks do arrive on site, that site is fenced off and everything, and no one will be allowed back in there.
Because these aren't just like we were talking earlier. These aren't fireworks that you're picking up at Meyer.
Correct.
These are a little bit more powerful than that.
Yep.
So how would you describe them? I mean, we're talking. I mean, they're ordinance, right?
Correct. Yes. They are governed and regulated by the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau. So they know they're a potentially deadly ordinance, and like you said, they're not the stuff that we see in the packages at Walmart or Kroger's or things like that. Some of these shells are upwards of 6 inches. They can go 8 inches. The ones we use here in Reynoldsburg are typically 6 inches or below, smaller shells, but they still put on a great show and a fantastic show. So those are the things that it's really important to keep that in mind, that they are not like a sparkler or a bottle rocket.
Yeah. So if you're going to be setting them off in your neighborhoods, probably not going to be a good idea.
Yeah. So. Yes, correct.
So obviously around this time of the year, there's a lot of safety lessons that come about because while maybe they're not working with that level of fireworks, they are working with sparklers, or they're working with some of those other smaller ones, or even, now the new law is passed, some of the other fireworks that are out there. So what are some basic safety tips that you think parents should know, especially, if kids are looking at fireworks for the first time?
Okay, yeah, well, typically, and that's our stance. The fire department stance is always one of safety and keeping the kids safe and the residents and community safe. I think one of the things that we get asked a lot about is about the sparklers and things like that. So they're marketed kind of towards the kids, but you got to keep in mind that this is an open flame. This is a very hot little item there, upwards of 2,000 degrees, depending on what you're reading. But that's something that you got to be really careful with, and make sure that there's adult present if you're letting your kids, play with the sparklers or things like that. But being aware of your area, we were talking earlier, haven't had a rain lately in the last 7 days or so, and so the area can be dry, unintentional fires, and according to the statistics there last year, there were over 20,000 accidental fires caused by fireworks and things like that. So just being mindful of your surroundings, using hearing protection if you're letting off anything with a loud boom or anything like that, making sure you have your distances, anything that launches, making sure that your tree covers aren't there to where something would come back down, and watching where things are falling to make sure that there's no fires out away from your home. And then I'd also say that folks, that are doing this, that be mindful of your neighbors. The noise that these can generate, they are harmful, to pets and things like that with their ears. Veterans, anybody suffering from post-traumatic stress may have issues with the noise and everything generated by fireworks. So just be mindful and respectful of your neighbors and the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one thing that, when people talk about fireworks, there's usually, they fall into two sides. There's the one that's, fireworks, every day of the week, for around 4th of July.
Sure.
And then you have other ones just like that. I don't think people realize, what it does to dogs.
Sure.
While not every dog reacts the same way, different dogs, this is not a happy time for them.
No,
and
not
then
at
if you
all.
look
Yeah.
at our veteran community that has been dealing with PTSD, that is another thing. I mean, those things, especially some of those shells, it does sound, it's not sounding to them what it sounds like to me, who's never been
Correct.
in a situation like that. So,
Yeah.
well, I appreciate that. I know one of the things that we always talk about, my assistant's a big New York Giants fan, and there was
That's too bad.
yeah, I know. That's what I don't think she's going to appreciate you anymore. But one of their former football players, if you remember, Jason Pierre-Paul, ended up with fireworks and ended up losing three
Correct.
fingers,
Yeah.
most of his hand and 3 fingers. With
and,
that.
and the Columbus Blue Jackets goalie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was just last year.
Last year. So. Yeah.
So it's dangerous. These are. I mean, yes, it's fun. Yes, we want to celebrate, but at the same time,
Yes.
let's
Safely. Be aware. Stay sober.
Yeah.
Do not be impaired or anything like that when you're letting off fireworks or anything like that. So.
Designated lighter. What do we got to figure? Designated.
I guess that sounds right. Yeah.
We'll have to come up. We'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
So, in addition to that, what are some of the other things that the fire department does that is not something that a lot of people know about? I mean, obviously, we know you go to accidents. If there is a fire, you're going there. What are some of the other things that the Truro Township Fire Department offers our community?
Okay, so that's another great question. In years past, we used to call it the Fire Prevention Bureau, but our scope of practice has really expanded over the years. So now it's referred to as the Community Risk Reduction Bureau. And I think a few months ago you had one of our new areas of operation, the community paramedic. You had Sarah here. That's fairly new within the last couple of years. So the community paramedic kind of acts as that bridge for those folks that are still at home but may have special needs for their daily living, and to try to keep those folks at home. She's able to kind of bridge that gap and get those folks the services they need. So that's the community paramedic's really a really new big ticket item for us. But we also do car seat checks. We have several car seat technicians within the fire department that are certified and can talk to folks on how to set up a car seat. Because if you've ever had to deal with a car seat, several different car seats out there, several different ways of installing them. They're all complicated. These folks can kind of walk the people through. Call the fire department. They'll schedule a time. They'll get back to you, and you can come in. It usually takes about a half an hour to an hour to go through this car seat. You wouldn't think something like that would be that complicated, but
the car seats are just, thankfully I've not had to deal with those for a long time, but wow, it's not just like putting it in there and then buckling up. There's a lot more to it.
Right. Yep, exactly. So we offer that. We offer CPR first aid classes to the community. Again, contact the fire department. We have a designated line for the community CPR. And then we do some of the business owners in town may be also familiar with Lieutenant Schmidt, who comes in and does the annual fire safety inspections, and he's just checking for buildings to make sure everything in the building is in compliance with the fire code. The exit lights are working, the exits are clear, and things like that.
Yeah.
So
I know we've worked a lot more with him over the last couple of years.
Yes.
Especially with a number of the new businesses and some of the older buildings that are kind of like being used again for the first time in quite some time, just to make sure everything's up to where it needs to be.
Yep. That's right. So in a nutshell, that's what we do in addition to fire suppression and EMS services. So there's quite a bit of things under our umbrella there.
Well, the most important thing that we're obviously going to be talking about is what happens after the parade on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it is the annual Guns and Hoses baseball game, softball game.
Yes.
So it's going to be there. So, you know, we were talking earlier, so we've got some players from the Columbus Clippers. Apparently, they're going to be, you know, just visiting by for the fire department.
We've been out there recruiting. Well, actively recruiting.
I can imagine. But it's going to be a fun thing. So for those of you watching, after the parade is over with, usually the parade kind of takes its way down Haft and then kind of circles around Davidson, and that's when all the parade floats kind of break up and everybody goes their own way. But right in Huber Park, that's where that softball game is going to be there. It's a great event. I'll be there. There's going to be a ton of people there rooting on either for the police department or the fire department, and I'm sure that everyone will be completely respectful and not talk any trash between now and that day. Probably nothing at all. Do we have any questions at all from our audience out there about some fire safety issues or the 4th of July fireworks, anything like that?
I have a question, but not about those items.
Oh, okay.
We have one. It says, nice to see you, Mr. Mayor, at the Livingston House concert. Any word on why the signs for Columbus State and Mount Carmel are covered over at the Livingston Avenue High School campus?
I believe the Mount Carmel sign, I believe that they've actually are changing and moving to Nationwide Children's Hospital. I believe that that's what that is. My guess is they're just getting ready to update their signage package. But that's my best understanding of it.
That's all I got right now.
All right, I'll take the question. Do you have a few minutes to stick around as we kind of go through some other fun stuff?
Yeah, be glad to.
So obviously we've got a lot of things going on. We have the first, you've heard of Intel, big thing coming in. Yeah, it's kind of important. It's kind of dominating. I'll be at another meeting for the Intel organization. It's Licking County welcomes Intel tomorrow, so we'll probably get some more information about where things are going. I know that they were hoping to have a big groundbreaking ceremony in July, but it looks like that's going to get delayed a little bit because of some things going on at a federal level. But at the same time, it's still going forward. They were talking, putting the ads out for bringing new workers in. They're actually going to send them to Arizona or Oregon for 8 to 12 weeks of training, so that way they can get all of that stuff done before they come back and work. So it's going to be huge for all of us over here. We also have a roads update. I'm sure that you've never had an issue with Main Street, but just in case you have, you'll probably see today. So right now on the south side, you've got everything from the bridge all the way down to Vicks is basically done. The sidewalks in, all of that is in there. Should have the bricks that are going to go in to kind of even out the rest of the sidewalk in probably sometime next week, weather depending. That's the goal. And then you're going to see some more progress working on the Cotner Funeral Home. They're going to go ahead and start pouring the concrete to solidify that wall. And then you're going to see at the very end at Black Lake Dental, they did kind of like a test balloon of what the bricks on the wall are going to look like. So if you want to see what that's all going to look like all the way across, that's a good indication to do it. So they're just checking that, and then they have to be very artistic to make sure that the stones are, like, you don't want just stones going straight across the entire way. You want to have a little bit of more natural look to it. So that's moving along pretty well. You should also see the power lines coming down probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on weather. Everything is underground and it's all good. The transition from the electric is probably going to happen sometime in the middle of the night. So at some point in time, the power is going to flick, and then it's going to be on through the underground, and then that'll be it. And then they'll take those power cords down. So we're really excited about that. I think that's going to be a huge thing because it's all of that gobbledygook that's there. You're just going to get rid of it, and it's going to really clear up that intersection.
It'll be amazing once you open it up, because I remember when Streetscape went through here years ago, how it really opened up Main Street, made it look great.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So as soon as I know when those things are officially coming down, we'll let you know. We do have a couple of things for our Division of Police. We have our Citizens Police Academy. Believe it or not, that date for the next class is going to start September 1st. So if you're interested, go ahead and check out our new website to be a participant. It's 8 weeks, which doesn't feel like it, but it's about 3.5 hours or 3 hours a night from 6 to 9 o'clock, and you get all sorts of different training about what it's like to be a police officer, why police officers do what they do. And then you get into some scenario training, which is my favorite part, that, actually kind of living that expectation of what a police officer deals with on a regular basis. You get to check traffic stuff, so you can actually go out with the radar and actually see everybody speeding, even though no one speeds in Reynoldsburg unless, everyone does. But you've got that out there. So if you're interested, again, go ahead and check out that on our website. We did have our site visit. I don't know if you've heard of this. We're actually going to have the U.S. Geological Organization is actually going to be putting in a sensor, and it's probably going to be at the bridge right out here at Main Street to monitor the Black Lake Creek. And so what it's going to do is it's going to take constant measurements of the water, and when it gets to a certain point after a hard rain or something along those lines that potentially may lead to some flooding in our community, It's going to be in place there, and we'll have a text notification system. So if you sign up for it, it will go ahead and ping and send that information out to the residents and say that there's a potential for flooding in your area to take whatever measures you need to do.
Very good.
So we're really excited about that. It's going to take a little bit of time to get it installed, but we're working hard to get it in there. But like I said, we've had our site visit, and hopefully with that and with some of the other things, we'll have be able to address that long-standing issue as far as the flooding in the community. We also have, you talk about Civic Park, and maybe before you leave, I'll show you a little bit of a preview. We're going to have a presentation before City Council, the second meeting in July on the 25th, and it's going to be OHM and EMH&T, our city engineers and our designers, and they're going to come out and actually have a grand reveal of what potentially the new Civic Park is going to look like. So there's a lot of things in there. The big things, obviously more parking. If you've ever had to go out to Civic Park for soccer on the weekends,
right.
Parking can be a little entertaining, but some parking. There's a splash pad, kind of a stage area, a natural stage area out there, and some other things, expanded park trails and things like that. So it's a great thing, but if you're really wanting to see it, make sure you come out to our City Council meeting on July 25th. You're going to see the presentation. It will be broadcast, but there's something about seeing the pictures kind of like live and up close and things like that. But it's going to look really good. It'll probably take a very long time to get there because apparently things are expensive. And they were expensive before, now they're really expensive. But there's a lot of things that are going to be good with it. It's to utilize that park, and all of it is being designed with the idea of what happens if it all gets set out to make sure it doesn't interfere with 4th of July fireworks. So that's going to be kind of all hardwired in, as well as if we ever decide to move the Tomato Festival back there. And one of the big things for that that's in there would be a bridge access on the other side to Rose Hill.
Okay.
So that way you would have more than one way in and one way out, which I know from a safety concern, that's going to be a huge thing. And I think that bridge is only like $6 million. So, nothing too big. I spent a lot of time looking at grants, just throwing that out there for everybody. But hopefully you can come out for that. Let's see. We also have fall registration is now open for all of our fall sports, including baseball, softball, and soccer. We are in desperate need of coaches. So if anybody out there knows anybody who wants to be a rec league coach, feel free and reach out to us. It's a great opportunity to get kids active and engaged and all of that. So hopefully that's out there. We also have a lot of things going on with parks. We have the Seashell Art, which is on July 10th. We have the Nature Night Out on the 15th. A lot of people's favorite, the Take Apart Lab. So this is where they get like TVs, VCRs, and all sorts of other stuff, and the kids actually just take apart the electronics. So that's always fun. And then a really new and popular thing called Smash Art will be back. So this is where you'll actually mosaics, and you'll just break things together and actually create some art with it that I have no talent for whatsoever, but it's going to be great.
Sounds pretty easy though.
It does. It honestly, you just smash things and there you go. Yeah. So right up everybody's alley. But just as a reminder, we also have the 4th of July fireworks. So that's going to be on Friday, July 1st. That will be at Civic Park. Gates open at 6 o'clock. And we have Ninja Bowl, grilled cheese gangsters, which I just like saying that because usually you don't associate grilled cheese and gangsters together. And new option here, Donna's Delicious Donuts will be there. So I will be performing their inspection prior to everything to pick out the best donuts. But there's going to be some music, there's going to be some bounce houses, and again, the food trucks will be there. Gates open at 6 o'clock, so make sure you get there. And what I'm going to do is just for everybody that's in there, I didn't realize that everybody did this as much, but this year, when everybody's lined up as they're getting ready to go in, I'm going to walk up and down that entry line, and I'm going to have 5 VIP passes for parking to get the special parking into the Civic Park for people that I feel are showing a lot of that community pride, a lot of that excitement for the patriotism, the 4th of July fireworks, things like that. That doesn't mean you have to decorate your car, but if there's somebody in there that's really excited about it, maybe that'll be something that you can do, and I'll just be passing those things out so you have a little bit different of an option for some parking, but I think that'd be a great opportunity for people to take advantage of it. I'm all encouraging, I love costumes, so if you really want to go for it, please go ahead and do that. But again, looking forward to the fireworks on Friday. We also have the 4th of July parade the following Monday, sponsored by the Reynoldsburg Community Festival, Community Association. So come on out and line up on Main Street here, basically between, I would say, Rose Hill and Haft is a really good indication of getting some of your best seats. I know everybody has their little spot where they want to go, but it's going to be a great opportunity just to see a lot of different community businesses, community activities. I know the city's going to have our tomato pageant float, we're going to have our city float, and then we're going to have our Parks and Recreation float. And then we're going to have, she hasn't decided that she needs to be called Queen Donna yet, but Grand Marshal Donna Bauman is going to be there as well, kind of kicking things off. She's going to be our Grand Marshal. So
that sounds good.
She has not made it that I have to call her Grand Marshal, Donna Bauman yet, though I do expect that to happen soon.
I think a sign change on the door.
Yeah, I think that would be.
I think that would.
Thank you for giving her that suggestion. So now I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Place down there.
Yep. We also have our farmers market in between that this Thursday. We do have Schmitz is going to be there. We also have the Crazy Cucumber, and something actually kind of cool is it's Bailey's Blooms, which is basically fresh cut flowers. So if you want some fresh cut flowers, feel free and come out and deal with that. And Parks and Rec will also be there this Thursday, and it's going to be something called Blue Blocks. And I don't know what they are. I'm not being told what they are, but if you want to know, I've been told that you have to come to the farmers market this Thursday to see exactly what that's all about. So hopefully you can make it there. Once the 4th of July festivities are over, we're going to be all in Tomato Festival planning gear. So again, the Tomato Festival from the 4th, 5th, and 6th, we're going to be really prepping for that. We're going to have rides, even more healthy fair food and all of that there. Some great activities for the kids that we're getting together. So that's we'll be spending a lot of time in July talking about what's going to be coming up at the Tomato Festival. Just also wanted to pass on, if you're a golfer, which I am not a very good one, it's the Reynoldsburg Wrestling Golf Outing that's actually going to be July 9th. It's at Champions Golf Course in Westerville. If you're interested in either sponsoring or participating, have a team that you want to get out and go, email John Forgy at johnforgy@ren.org. It's jon.forgy, Forgy, at reyn.org. But I did see something interesting in this, and talk about a way to make a lot of money. Apparently, if you need a do-over, a mulligan, pay $10, you get a mulligan.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We don't have enough in the city budget for my golf game for that one, so we'll just kind of go with that. Kind of sticking with some of the Raider athletics, we have our Reynoldsburg Raider football season kickoff on August 19th. Versus Upper Arlington. It's going to be a celebration of the first year of the Reynoldsburg participating in OCC Conference, as well as the first playoff win from 2001. So it's going to be there. And we will have the new football coach on in July as well, kind of to promote that. They had a big 7-on-7 game yesterday for the first time, kind of getting things there. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy for our new football team. So it's going to be really good. You mentioned earlier, somebody mentioned the concert on the lawn. That was a lot of fun. It was a great band. But the next one is going to be July 10th, and this is just a fun thing to say. The Nacho Street Band, I just like saying, Nacho Street Band is going to be there. But this is a little bit different. It's actually a brass band ensemble, what they do is they actually raise money for Children's Hospital.
Oh, very good.
So there is a social cause with that. So keep an eye out for that. Come out there. If you hadn't had a chance to go to the Livingston House for these concerts, it's really nice. It's relaxing. We had a really good crowd this past Sunday, but it'll be Sunday night, probably starting about 6:30. But stay tuned for some information on that. We also have the brand new Lady Raider Volleyball Cash Drop is going to happen on July 16th at all the usual locations, the Five Way and Rose Hill and Maine and things like that, to support our Lady Raider volleyball team. But other than that, do we have any questions, any comments, anything from our...
We did get a question coming. It says, I noticed several large old pines cut down on Wagner. Is there a development going in behind VFW and the cemetery?
Yeah, there is going to be development there. It'd been something that had gone through a while ago. It just had taken some time to get make sure that all the environmental stuff is right. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but there's this thing called Indiana Bat. Have you heard of Indiana Bat?
I don't think so, no.
I didn't know about it until I got this job. Apparently, you can only cut trees down within a certain time frame in the state of Ohio. So you can do it from basically August, and you can do it to basically the April 1st. And you can only cut them down during that time for big, we're talking big tree clearings. Because Indiana bat is an endangered species and it's federally protected. Okay. And if those Indiana bats are nesting or roosting in those locations, you obviously can't cut down the trees with them in it, or if it's in the process of them with their mating season and things like that. So it's a very limited window. So this particular development had waited for a while. They actually had an on-site, and talk about a job. They had to have somebody on-site for 24 hours inspecting the trees that were cut down and to see if there was any evidence of bats coming or going or anything like that. So that'll be there. But this is very similar to the townhome development. It's going to be owner-occupied townhomes. I believe the starting price point is going to be $350,000 and up. But that will ultimately go in there. They're just going to take a very slow approach because there's some environmental concerns that we want to make sure that everybody's doing things the right way in that. But that's a great question.
That's it for right
All
now.
right. Anything else?
No.
All right. So we'll see you out there on Friday and then again on Monday, I hope. Are you
Correct.
playing?
I am beyond my playing years.
Yeah, so am I, but apparently I'm being told that I may have to get called
I
up
may
into
be an
something.
alternate. You know,
Yeah.
I may be an alternate. I will be there for the game, and admission is a stuffed animal.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, the admission is a stuffed animal, and that'll go to a good cause also.
That's a good one.
So,
All right. Well, thank you again very much for coming here and
Thank
giving
you.
some good safety tips. Tune in next week. We're going to have William Dorman, our service director, as we're getting ready to kick off our 2022 roads program. So there's a number of courts and roads out there that are going to start the resurfacing done. So he'll be there to answer some questions with that. Otherwise, everybody else, stay safe, stay respectful, and we'll see you next week. Well, bye, everybody. Happy 4th.